January 2017, CIA headquarters, Langley, Virginia. A file is declassified, detailing a chilling 250-page KGB report obtained by U.S. intelligence. The file describes a battle deep in the wastelands of Siberia. But if the Russian story is to be believed, this was no ordinary clash of arms.
It says there were soldiers on maneuvers in Siberia, and they encountered an unidentified flying object, a UFO.
As the story goes, the soldiers shoot it down with surface-to-air missile, and it crashes.
And then out of that wreckage came some aliens.
They merge and form a glowing ball.
Then it grows bigger and explodes with a fantastic flash. In that instant, 23 soldiers are turned to stone poles.
They petrified them.
The whole thing was supposedly witnessed by a couple of soldiers who were hiding behind trees and were thus unaffected by the death rays.
Certainly something that could transmute living flesh into stone that quickly is beyond our experience.
According to the top-secret report, the petrified soldiers, as well as the wreckage of the craft that they shot down, were taken to a secret laboratory outside Moscow. Russian scientists determined they had been turned into a substance like limestone. If true, could the Kremlin now possess otherworldly weapon technology?
The Russians would have laid claim to that wreckage and would have reversed engineered the weapon system.
But some analysts say there may be another explanation.
It's highly unlikely that the Russians have discovered some kind of alien technology or materials.
You don't know if this is a cover story for some kind of weapon that the KGB might have been testing on their own soldiers.
The KGB does have a history of either covering up certain events or perhaps misdirection, or perhaps maybe exaggerate and change the facts of a story to keep the real events from actually being learned outside.
Whatever the KGB is up to, the CIA cannot ignore reports of such a strange and terrifying weapon.
What kind of weapon are they developing, and what is it intended to do?
Fossilization is the most widely known process that turns organic matter into stone, but is seemingly hard to weaponize as the transformation is incredibly slow.
The natural process that we see occurs over millions of years. This is not a fast process at all. But the report involves the transmutation happening almost instantaneously. Are there things that we could do, though, to speed up the petrification process and make it happen on a more human timescale instead of millions of years?
A clue might lie in a mysterious place hidden in England's rolling hills. A place said to be cursed by the devil.
If you want to see something turn to stone before your very eyes, there's a place in northern England called the Petrifying Well.
For centuries, locals lived with the fear that touching the well's water would turn them to stone.
If you put an object into the flowing water over the course of a month or two, the stone will deposit, almost like something out of The Lord of the Rings.
The beguiling process is completely indiscriminate, petrifying dead animals, a bicycle, and even John Wayne's hat.
It does make you wonder, could you stand under the waterfall long enough to become encrusted with stone?
Although the process is quicker than fossilization, it doesn't match what is said to have happened to the soldiers in Siberia.
These objects have been coated in stone. The interior is still the same, so it's just an incrustation. Those soldiers were completely stone inside and out.
Scientists in Washington State have made a breakthrough in the bizarre science of petrification that could hold the answer.
The scientists took a cube of wood, soaked it in acid for 2 days, and then they put it into a silica solution for another 2 days, and then baked it at 1400 degrees Celsius, and voila.
Rather than burning, the wood reacts with the acid and silicon, transforming into the extremely hard ceramic silicon carbide. The entire process takes just 5 days, a massive ramping up of the fossilization process.
It's still not fast enough to explain what went on with the reported soldiers being turned to stone.
Can that process be sped up so they can happen in a couple of seconds or instantaneously?
But the ceramic silicon carbide looks nothing like the limestone-like substance described in the report. A scientific discovery made in Japan in 2019 suggests it could be some exotic biological weapon. A new virus was found living in a hot spring. Acanthamoeba castellani. But it's been nicknamed the medusa virus because of its similarities to the famous Greek mythological monster with snakes for hair and a deadly gaze.
Anybody who saw her face and the snakes were, well, they turned to stone.
Just like in the myth, when the medusa virus comes in contact with its victims, it leaves them encased in a stone-like shell.
What's left behind is sort of a stone image of the living creature.
The medusa virus discovered in Japan so far seems only to affect amoeba. But is it possible an advanced technology could weaponize a virus like this and amplify it to petrify humans, as described in the recently declassified report?
Really reminiscent of what we hear in old myths and legends. The techniques aren't sufficient to turn living human beings into stone instantaneously like that. If something like that happened, it is using a process that we know nothing about.
The bright flash detailed in the report appears to match the explosive signature of the world's most powerful weapons. Weapons the Russians test in remote locations like Siberia.
Maybe there was something that went off that was so intense in heat, it vaporized all the water in those soldiers, turning them to stone.
A nuclear explosion, if you're close enough, will flash incinerate you.